There is an exact dollar amount where more money stops buying you more happiness. It's a real number, backed by Nobel Prize-winning research, and it's almost certainly lower than the figure you have in your head. By the end of this, you'll know that number, and why a more recent study seemed to prove it completely wrong. And you'll understand the psychological mechanism that explains why some millionaires are miserable, while others with a fraction of their wealth feel truly free. Because chances are, the financial goal you're working toward is aimed at a target that won't deliver the feeling you're actually chasing. Let's get right to it. The original famous number comes from a 2010 study by two Nobel laureates, Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton. They analyzed over 450,000 survey responses and found a clear plateau. For day-to-day happiness, or what they called emotional well-being, the benefits of higher income tapered off significantly after $75,000 a year. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $100,000 in today's money. Below this number, money problems create real suffering. A broken-down car is a financial catastrophe. A medical bill induces panic. Every dollar earned provides a massive hit of relief and reduces stress. But once you cross that $100,000 threshold, the effect on your daily mood flattens out. Someone earning $200,000 a year isn't necessarily waking up feeling happier, less stressed, or more joyful on any given Tuesday than someone earning $100,000. Their car might be nicer, but the feeling of relief from solving basic money problems is gone. This finding shaped a decade of thinking about wealth and well-being. But there's a crucial detail that most summaries leave out. Kahneman and Deaton measured two different things. First was emotional well-being, that daily mood we just discussed. The second was life evaluation, which is your overall satisfaction when you step back and think about your life. Think of it as the difference between how are you today and how is your life going. While daily happiness plateaued, life evaluation did not. It continued to climb steadily with income. Someone earning $500,000 a year might feel just as stressed or happy on a given day as someone earning $100,000. But when asked to rate their life on a scale of 1 to 10, they consistently give a higher score. They feel more successful. They feel like they're winning the game. This creates a strange paradox. You can feel more successful about your life in general without actually feeling any better in your daily experience of living it. And then, a new study came along that made everything even more confusing. It found no plateau at all, and the reason it got a different answer reveals what we're all really buying with our money. In 2021, a researcher named Matthew Killingsworth published a study with a completely different method. Instead of asking people to remember how they felt, he used a smartphone app to ping thousands of people at random times during the day. He'd ask them in the moment, "How do you feel right now?" This captured a much more accurate picture of their real-time emotional state. His results were shocking. He found that daily, experienced happiness did not plateau at $100,000. It just kept going up. For every doubling of income, he saw a consistent, measurable increase in well-being, with no ceiling in sight, even for people earning over $500,000 a year. This threw a wrench in everything. Suddenly, there were two credible opposing studies. One said happiness flatlines. The other said it doesn't. So what happened next was something rare in science. Kahneman and Killingsworth decided to collaborate. They brought in a third researcher as an arbiter and reanalyzed both of their data sets together to figure out who was right. Their joint paper, published in 2023, is one of the clearest pictures we have of the relationship between money and happiness. And the answer was surprising. They were both right. The effect of money on happiness depends entirely on your baseline level of emotional well-being. For about 85% of the population, the happy majority, happiness does indeed keep rising with income. Just as Killingsworth found. More money leads to more happiness, with diminishing returns, but no hard ceiling. But, for a specific 15% of the population, the unhappiest people, there is a very real ceiling. For this group, happiness rises with income up to about $100,000, and then it completely flatlines. After that point, more money does absolutely nothing to alleviate their sadness, their grief, or their depression. Kahneman's original study had averaged everyone together, and this unhappy group was pulling the average down, creating the illusion of a plateau for everyone. This unhappy minority is the key to understanding the whole puzzle. Their experience reveals with perfect clarity what money can do and what it can't. Money is an extremely effective tool for solving money-related problems. If your misery comes from the stress of debt, the fear of eviction, or the inability to afford healthcare, then more money is a powerful antidote. But if your misery comes from a deeper source, like loneliness, a feeling of meaninglessness, or clinical depression, money stops helping. It can't fix a broken relationship. It can't give you a sense of purpose. It can't heal trauma. Past $100,000, the money just piles up around the real problem. This brings us to a more useful way to think about money. It isn't a single substance. You can use it to buy 4 completely different things, and most people get stuck on the first 2, wondering why they still feel trapped. The first thing you buy with money is security. This is the foundation. It's paying off high-interest debt, building an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, and getting to a point where a surprise $400 bill doesn't derail your entire life. This is where money has the highest return on happiness. Every dollar spent reducing financial precarity buys you an enormous amount of peace of mind. It turns off the low-level hum of financial anxiety that runs in the background of so many lives. The $100,000 figure from the research is essentially the get-to-zero number. It's the income level where, for most people in the United States, the stress of basic financial insecurity is neutralized. This is the first currency. The second currency is comfort. This is where most people's financial ambitions live. It's the nicer car, the bigger house, the better restaurants, the more expensive vacations. Comfort is nice. The initial upgrade from a cramped apartment to a spacious house feels incredible. The problem is a psychological principle called the hedonic treadmill. Humans are remarkably good at getting used to things. The first time you fly business class, it feels like a luxury. The 10th time, it feels normal. The 20th time you're annoyed that the Wi-Fi is slow. Your baseline resets. The comfort that once felt like a 10 now feels like a 5. You need an even bigger dose of luxury to get the same emotional hit. This is a game of diminishing returns. People spend their entire careers chasing more comfort, constantly upgrading their lifestyle, only to find their baseline happiness level remains surprisingly stable. They are running faster and faster just to stay in the same emotional place. Most people spend their entire lives oscillating between security and comfort. They work to get secure, then they spend to get comfortable, which often reduces their security, so they have to work more again. It's a cycle. But the people who report the highest, most sustained levels of life satisfaction, well past the point where more comfort stops delivering a real return, are spending their money on 2 completely different things. They're buying assets the average person doesn't even think of as currency. The third currency you can buy is time. This is the first major unlock. At its most basic level, this is using money to buy back hours of your life, paying for grocery delivery to save an hour at the store, hiring a cleaning service to reclaim your Saturday mornings, taking a taxi instead of the subway to get home 30 minutes sooner. Each of these transactions converts money directly into free time. On a larger scale, it means building enough wealth that you can choose to work less. To go from a 60-hour week to a 40-hour week, to take an unpaid sabbatical between jobs, to retire 5 years earlier, you are literally buying your life back, 1 hour, 1 week, 1 year at a time. The person who uses their $50,000 raise to hire a house cleaner and a virtual assistant to handle life admin has often bought themselves more happiness than the person who uses the same money to upgrade their car. One bought a depreciating asset. The other bought 5 to 10 hours of their life back every single week. The fourth and final currency is autonomy. This is the end game. Autonomy is the freedom to choose what you work on, when you work, where you work, and who you work with. It's the ability to control your own life and your own time. This is what true wealth buys. It's the ability to say no. No to a project you find meaningless. No to a boss who is disrespectful. No to a client who drains your energy. No to a career path that is burning you out. Every dollar you save is a piece of your future freedom. It's a buffer that allows you to take risks, to change course, to walk away from bad situations. This is why Killingsworth's study found that happiness kept increasing for the wealthy. It's because higher income often correlates with greater autonomy. A senior partner at a law firm has more control over their cases and schedule than a first-year associate. A successful business owner has more control than their employees. They aren't happier because they can buy more stuff. They're happier because they have more control over the shape of their days. This explains why two people with the exact same net worth can have wildly different levels of happiness. One is trapped by their assets, the other is freed by them. And the difference comes down to a metric that never appears on a bank statement. The truest measure of wealth is the percentage of your calendar that you own. Think about two people. First, a surgeon earning $700,000 a year. Her schedule is booked a year in advance. She works grueling hours, is on call every third night, and has her weeks dictated by hospital administration and patient emergencies. She has a high income and a high net worth, but almost zero control over her time. Her calendar owns her. Now, think of a graphic designer who has built a small, stable freelance business, earning $150,000 a year. They have enough savings to turn down projects they don't like. They can decide to take a Tuesday off to go hiking. They can work from another country for a month. While their income is much lower, their autonomy is vastly higher. A huge portion of their calendar is their own. In many cases, the designer will report a higher level of daily well-being than the surgeon. The surgeon is rich, the designer is wealthy. This highlights the autonomy gap. For many professions, the path to a high income involves a direct trade of autonomy. You climb the corporate ladder by taking on more responsibility, which often means less control over your time. You're at the mercy of other people's schedules, deadlines, and demands. People make this trade willingly, believing that they are exchanging their freedom now for more freedom later. They accumulate money, viewing it as stored potential energy. They believe that one day they will flip a switch and convert that pile of money into the kinetic energy of a life lived on their own terms. But there's a paradox at the heart of this strategy. The very act of chasing the number often destroys the skill set required to enjoy what the number is supposed to buy. The paradox is this: you spend 30 years sacrificing your time and autonomy to accumulate wealth, believing that wealth will eventually buy you time and autonomy. The problem is that over those 30 years, your habits, your social circle, and your very identity become fused with your work. You become a person who is good at being a high-powered lawyer or a driven executive. You've forgotten how to be anything else. The cage you worked so hard to escape from has become your entire world. You finally have enough money to walk away, but you have nowhere to walk to. You have built an identity around a high-stress, low-autonomy life, and you no longer possess the skills for a low-stress, high-autonomy one. The freedom you've purchased feels terrifying and empty. The shift in perspective is realizing that the goal is to use money to incrementally buy back autonomy at every stage of life, not just at the end. It's about learning to think in this currency, long before you are rich. Choosing a slightly lower-paying job with a 30-minute shorter commute is an act of buying autonomy. Using a small portion of your income to outsource tasks you hate isn't a luxury. It's a strategic trade of money for time and mental space. The goal is to design a life where the percentage of your calendar that you control gradually increases over time. You start by buying back an hour a week, then a day a month, then a week a year. The person who learns how to do this finds their happiness increasing steadily, regardless of their income bracket, because they are constantly investing in the one asset that has no diminishing return, a life lived on their own terms. The real question isn't what's your number, it's how many of your last 24 hours were truly your own. Your bank account can't answer that. And this same hidden drive for control explains why status gains are so addictive, even when they make us miserable, which is a different kind of cage entirely.